Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, February 27th. This is our regular NBA preview and pick show that we do with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. We skipped the show yesterday, but here we are back on Friday. 14 games on the card tonight, and of course, very successful records. I'm 17-10 against spread in this show. Joe Duffy, with not even his top picks, of course, go on his website, is 18-12 against the spread in our show. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me, St. Peter Loshak.
Huge card tonight. Before we get to it, just, you're 18-12 in our show, which is great, 60%, but these aren't even your top plays every day, right?
That is correct. 148 and 105 in basketball. Joe Duffy's picks at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Unbelievable. All right, Joe Duffy, 14 games. The first one I'm thinking about, Sacramento, new coach, right? They're getting kind of a boost. And in our show, I mentioned that I was leaning towards them on Memphis. Against Memphis. I did bet that one. Didn't have the balls to make an official pick here. But now they're going up at home against San Antonio, against the Spurs. And first of all, DeMarcus Cousins is out, right? Which has made that line shoot way up. It's right now Sac +9 or 9.5. And the Spurs, I'm not exactly sure what to make of them right now. Do they have what it takes to bounce back? Because right now they're 2-11-1 against the spread over their last 14 games. So you have that ATS record. You have a line of 9 or 9.5. Sacramento with a new coach. Yeah, Cousins is out, but is Sacramento not a great bet here?
Yeah, the thing that would worry me, though, is that without DeMarcus Cousins, they are 3-8. I know, as I said, sometimes teams will rally around adversity. Cousins, for all the problems that he certainly has as far as attitude and motivation, he can play. He averages 23.7 points per game, 12.2 rebounds. If it weren't for the fact he wore a head case, he probably would have been the top pick in the draft, or certainly would have been drafted a little higher a few years ago. So he's one heck of a player. And also, Darren Collison is out for the Kings, and they've gone under 6-3 without him. But I get a little nervous with the Kings minus some talent, but I do know what you're saying, that the Spurs tend to be a little streaky. They seem to turn it off and on, and they've got the ability clearly to turn it off and on. And right now they're not really playing at their best basketball.
But, despite the names in their lineup and their history as being, an elite team that covers week in and week out, are they just done right now? Do they have what it takes to bounce back like this? How can you possibly justify an almost 10-point road favorite line here?
Yeah, within the case with Greg Popovich, I think he knows there's no major sense of urgency. He doesn't have to get out the whip, so to speak, for his veterans. The Spurs clearly know that they have that ability in the playoffs to play their best basketball of the year. So it probably is a pretty good time to fade them. But as I said, you're talking about Sacramento, an inferior team, and without two key players, including their best player. So it may not look necessarily so obvious, but again, when you're betting on the Spurs, you're usually having to pay a premium, and you're getting a couple extra points betting against them. So probably a good percentage.
I'm also thinking about the under in Clippers-Memphis, right? The total is 199, and Memphis is on an unbelievable under run. They're 114-1 over-under in their last 16 games, and none of those 16 games have gone over 200, but I think about 6 of them have actually had a total of 200. None of those 16 games have gotten into the 200s, and here they are, 199. They played the Clippers very recently. They went to 177. The question is, why should we expect this game to be any different from Memphis's previous 16 games?
And not only that, as we know that the Clippers are without Blake Griffin, who's a heck of a player, especially on the offensive end. So yeah, when you want to go with the Clippers, they certainly have been, with Memphis, they certainly have been trending under. And with the Clippers without their best weapon, that would seem like a pretty good percentage play for sure.
All right, and then also you got to be thinking about it, right? Detroit, I liked it at 13 on the overnight, and I bet it now. It's Detroit minus 13.5, and the Knicks. Man, these guys are awful. 0-4-1 against spread over their last 5 and gotten absolutely blown out. Their last game looking like they were going to cover, playing within Boston as a big underdog, and then they went on a 20-point unanswered point scoring run against them. You got to figure at some point Detroit's going to go on a huge run, more likely than not to cover 13.5. What do you think?
And I have to confess, the Knicks, I thought that they were going to be the poster child of a team that would certainly benefit from losing their overrated star, the so-called Ewing theory that Haralabos Voulgaris likes to use. But the truth is that the Knicks are 2-7-1 without Carmelo Anthony. And again, I'm not that big into trends, but anytime I get a pretty compelling one that's statistically significant, I at least have to pay attention to it. And the Knicks, they're 2-16-1 as an underdog if they allowed 100 or more points in consecutive games. So, yeah, even though my initial gut reaction was the Knicks without Carmelo Anthony would have better value, that has not been the case.
All right, and then so many things I'm thinking about. The Pacers and the Cavs, right? On the overnight, Pacers were +4, now they're +3.5. And, Kyrie Irving, I believe, is out for Cleveland, right? And LeBron James, they say he's got a sore back. How sore is it really? How much is that going to affect him? I don't know. But, as awesome as Cleveland has been, they are on a back-to-back. And Indiana has also been as good against the spread. They're 6-2 against spread over their last 8. The Cavs 6-1 against spread over their last 7. I really don't like to bet against teams like this. Hot teams on the rise that are just killing it against spread game in and game out. But you have to at least think about the Pacers +3.5, right?
They are definitely sneaking under the radar. And Kyrie Irving, quite the valuable player, averaging 21.7 points per game, 5.2 assists. Certainly, those people who think that the point guard's the most important player will definitely have to strongly consider fading Cleveland. But, yeah, you're right. LeBron's kind of been in and out of the lineup, and you can see that without one of the star players, one of the 3 big players for Cleveland, that is a big, big loss. So I'm not going to try to talk you out of it.
And then I was also thinking about Golden State Toronto under. I saw 215 on the overnight. Now it's 211.5. Both these teams have actually been strong under trenders. Golden State 1-6 over their last 7, and Toronto 2-7 over their last 9. Golden State, of course, on a back-to-back, and it's a high total, so I was thinking about that. I was also thinking about the under in Orlando, Atlanta, although that's now down to 195 or 195.5, so I think I'd pass on that one. And then also, betting into some trends, betting on some to reverse, I'm thinking about Denver at home +5. The Nuggets have been awful. They're 2-9 against spread over their last 11. They're on like a team record-setting losing streak at home, but I think this might be a spot where maybe they would at least be a good bet to get a cover here. They're getting 5 points, kind of a lot, and Utah is 4-1-1 against spread over their last 6, but in general, they're not quite the dominant team that you want to see as a road favorite anywhere, really. And I'm thinking maybe Denver +5 might be a play. What do you think?
Yeah, those picks, certainly Golden State's a team that you might think that the totals have been so high. They are the quickest paced team in the NBA, but clearly the odds makers are more than well aware of that. And as we like to say, that a team that, in order, when you look at the over or under, for Golden State to be an over team, they're going to have to maintain and even exceed their statistics to date. But they are the number 1 team in the NBA in terms of possessions per 48 minutes. So what that says to me is this late in the year, the general value there would be on Golden State to go under the total. So that would be the one that I probably agree with, are the ones that you mentioned. Of course, you throw so many games at you. It's not like I'm not very smart. I can only concentrate on one game at a time. But no, but yeah, Golden State I do think is probably from now until the end of the year will likely be a little bit more of an under team because of the reasons I stated.
All right, well, those were all the games that I was thinking about. I still have to decide which ones I'm going to make my official picks on. But let's get to your picks for tonight, Friday, February 27th. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com.
Well, we did wind up spitting out a great system play. The only reason that I'm not going to ride this as a premium play, well, really 2 reasons. Number 1, it's short term, but conversely, it's statistically overwhelming. And number 2, when you look at it, is there an obvious logical reason why this game is such an incredible trend? In fact, we'll tell you, it's a 42-3 under trend. I'm not exaggerating. But is there clear logic to it? Then again, another debate and discussion I've had with a lot of sharps over the years is sometimes when there's not obvious logic, I've noticed these teams with the high Z rating seem to hold up. And maybe if it has obvious logic, it's a case where the public jumps on it and the odds makers can adjust. But anyway, since December the 2nd of 2014, it's obviously applied often. I kid you not. Under at a 42-3 rate, and I don't know, I didn't run the Z factor on this, but it's obviously an incredible Z factor. I don't know if I've seen a statistic this jaw-dropping. The teams as an underdog off of a game in which there were 8 or more lead changes in their previous game, which they won as an underdog, of going under at a staggering 42-3 rate. So that says 3 games will go under tonight, and I'm going to ride them. The Charlotte game under, New Orleans under, and Sacramento to go under the total. It is tough to buck a system like that.
Wow. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com really looking inside the lines on this stuff. Yeah, that is an interesting stat. All right, well, right now, the Charlotte-Boston game is 196, and then the Spurs and Sacramento, the line is 201. And what was the third one again?
New Orleans to go under the total.
New Orleans and Miami, 196. All right, well, I can certainly see why that would be a trend, although that's the kind of statistic that, the general public doesn't look at. They don't look at, on the ESPN stat sheets, there's no statistic that's easily available that tells you how many lead changes there were in the other game. And that's why you do what you do, and we don't do it. So 3 picks for Joe Duffy: Charlotte-Boston under 196, Spurs-Sacramento under 201, and then Miami, New Orleans under 196, Joe?
That's correct. And in reality, I know it said it wasn't obvious, but that's not totally true, because a game in which there were so many lead changes and they won as an underdog, it's obviously a game that's going to be a little emotionally draining and probably physically draining. But the fact that it's weird. It only goes back a couple months, so that's the only reason. Otherwise, if it were something that rarely applied and covered, like a 10-year period, we would be pounding it to no oblivion. But the fact that it's kind of a short-term one is the reason why I'm going to definitely strong enough to make me give them as a free pick. They're not quite premium picks, but man, that is an overwhelming statistic.
All right, Joe Duffy, before I decide on my picks, what do you have tonight at your website? You have any premium picks on tonight's card?
Yeah, we do have a great card for tonight: college basketball and NBA Wise Guy plays. And we've got an NBA major and 3 college basketball totals as well. Total of 5 winners. Wise Guy plays in both college and the NBA. Joe Duffy's picks at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Well, Joe Duffy's given us 3 plays, and I think I'm going to go with 3 as well. I'll take Sacramento plus 9.5 against the Spurs. I will take the under 199 in Clippers Memphis, and then I think I will also take Denver plus 5 against Utah. So those are going to be my 3 plays tonight. A lot of other leans, but I guess I'll just stick with those 3. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Awesome call as always, and talk to you on Monday.